Hello, friends. How are you guys? Happy Easter! I've missed you guys. Today, we're going to hear about the story of how the women went to the tomb and Jesus wasn't there. We're going to be reading from Growing in God's Love, a Story Bible. And this one, there's only one picture, and I want to show it to you because I want you to be thinking about this. Look at these ladies' faces. How do they feel? And look at their hands. Do they look excited and happy? We'll talk more about the picture in a minute, but let me read you this story. Dying is a part of the life cycle. Think about a plant. Any plant, which begins as a seed. First is birth, the sprouting of a seed. Next is growth, the unfurling of the stem and the leaves. The plant lives and soaks up sunshine and rainwater. Then the plant dries up and it dies. But the life cycle, the story of the plant, is not over. New seeds grow in what's left from the old plant. The story was not over for Jesus when he died either. Jesus had been dead for more than a day. On the morning of the third day, Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and other women who loved Jesus went to the tomb where he had been taken. They walked sadly and quietly, carrying sweet-smelling spices to place on his body. But when they got to the tomb, they were surprised. They looked in, and Jesus wasn't there. The women were confused and scared. Who had moved his body? Suddenly, two men in shiny clothes stood next to them. Afraid, the women turned away. Guys, do you know who these two men are? They're angels. The men said, "This is where the dead are kept. Jesus is not here. He has been raised to life. Remember what he said when you were with him in Galilee? He said that the one sent from God will be taken by those who don't believe in him. This one will be killed, but on the third day, this one from God will rise to life again." The women remembered that Jesus had told them these things. They ran back to the disciples, eager to tell them the good news. Now, do you guys remember who the disciples are? They're Jesus' good friends. Matthew, Peter, John, Thomas. Those guys. "Jesus is alive!" shouted the women. But the disciples didn't believe Mary of Magdala. They didn't believe Joanna. They didn't believe Mary, the mother of James. They didn't believe any of the women. And guys, do you blame them? Wouldn't that be crazy if somebody came and said, "You know, somebody that died 3 days ago, they're alive"? That'd be hard news to swallow, wouldn't it? But that's what the prophets said, that's what Jesus said, and we had to believe in him and believe in that miracle happening. And we know Jesus can do miracles, so that must be what happened. Peter, though, one of the disciples, he wasn't sure whether they were telling the truth or not. He thought they might have been. So he ran to the tomb, and when he got there, he looked inside. This time, the two men in shining white clothes were not there. Peter only saw the cloth that covered Jesus, but no body. He walked away, wondering if it could be true. Was Jesus really alive? Now let's look at this picture. We talked about here, you've got the ladies, but then you've also got, what's this up here? Do you see the 3 crosses? That's where Jesus was crucified. And look, what's coming up behind the cross? The sun is. It's a new day, and there's new hope. And then you see this back here? Here's the tomb. Look at that big rock. That's huge. That's a big rock. Now, guys, I know this Easter is a different Easter than we have ever had before. We don't get to dress up in our fancy clothes, and we don't get to go celebrate with our church family or see the church all decorated in flowers and decorated for Easter. We don't get to do the Easter egg hunt at church either. But you know what's really special about this Easter, guys? This Easter is probably going to be more like the first Easter than anyone has experienced. This is going to be more like the first Easter than your mom and dad have experienced, and even your grandmas and grandpas. Because on the first Easter, people didn't get all dressed up in their fanciest new fun clothes and go worship together. There was a lot of uncertainty. People were scared because a really bad thing had just happened, that Jesus had just been killed. So Christians everywhere were really, really scared and uncertain, and they were keeping to themselves and keeping in their houses, which is kind of like what we're doing right now, how we're all staying safe in our houses and we aren't seeing a lot of other people. That's kind of like what the disciples were doing and people that believed in Jesus. They were staying safe in their houses. And on Easter Day, when Jesus rose from the dead, just like he said he was going to, and that we had faith he was going to do, we need to feel like the women. We need to feel so happy this Easter and overjoyed that Jesus did a miracle and God did a miracle and that he rose from the dead. So I want you to think today, when you're celebrating Easter, think about how those women felt and try and feel the same way. Try and feel so happy. There's new hope in the world, that Jesus has risen. And we've turned a corner in the church in that we're celebrating the life and the happiness of Jesus and his rising from the dead. And think about that today. So, happy Easter to you guys. I hope you have such a good day and that you celebrate today like the women who believed in Jesus and like our first followers of Jesus did after he rose from the dead. That you celebrate with your family and you praise God and that you love God. Happy Easter, guys. I miss you and I love you. Bye-bye.